Roll Through the Ages. Not a new game, but a game that I've been wanting to try for a while now. I'd put it on my wanting trade list on Board Game Geek, and I couldn't find anybody who wanted to trade their copy with me, so I thought this must be a good game. People don't want to separate from their copies. But recently, My Secret Santa on Board Game Geek sent me a copy of this game along with other games, so I finally got to play this game, and I wanted to make this video both to share my opinions with my viewers, but also to thank My Secret Santa. I do not know who that person is. He or she is one of the strong silent types, so if you're watching this video, My Secret Santa, thank you for sending this game. This video is dedicated to you. Roll Through the Ages, a dice roll game that is about civilization. You get to build your own civilization from scratch. You start with a bunch of little cities and you create an empire just by rolling dice, moving pegs on a wooden board, and most importantly, you do this in 10-20 minutes. This is all it takes for you to create religion, engineering, science, build the pyramids, build the Great Wall. There is a lot of stuff that you can do in just 10-20 minutes, and with a fraction of the trouble that you would get from other civilization games. So let's see how this game handles that. Each player uses one of these nice wooden boards and a sheet that comes from this pretty substantial pad of sheets of this type. Here you will record your name. The sheet will indicate the number of cities that you have. You start with 3 cities and each city gives you a die to roll. Later in the game you can build more cities. Each turn you roll your dice and you can roll them up to 3 times. If you roll a skull, that has to be put aside. You cannot re-roll it. The other dice you can choose to save or roll again, and in later rolls you can even re-roll dice that you had saved before. If you're playing a solitaire game, then actually you can re-roll the skulls just like any other die. So you re-roll up to 3 times, but at the end you have to accept the result that you got. You collect at that point the resources that you received. Food, you record on this track here. The symbol gives you 3 food. This symbol gives you either 2 food or 2 workers. You choose. Food is important because each turn you have to pay a food for each city that you have. So if I roll 3, I had just enough to feed my 3 cities, and I put my peg back there. This is very important because each turn for each city that you do not feed, you cross a box here in the disasters area, and each of these boxes that is crossed off is a point that you lose at the end of the game. You can then use your workers to build several things. Each of the workers that you roll allows you to cross off a box in this area here or in this other area here. If you cross off all the boxes necessary to build a city, then you get an extra die, but that also means extra mouths to feed when you will roll the dice again. In this case, roll 4 dice for foods that I need each turn. You can also use your workers to cross off boxes in this other area here to build monuments. These monuments will be entirely built when you have crossed off all of the boxes corresponding to that monument. If you're the first player to build a certain monument, then you get the first amount indicated here, the first number, which is the higher number of victory points. Other players that build the same monument later will get the second number. As you can see, some first numbers really are good payoffs. What else? Oh yes, the goods. You also may have rolled the goods, which are indicated by that symbol there. You have some symbols with only 1 good and some symbols with 2 goods and a skull. I'll talk about skulls later. Each good that you roll will allow you to move pegs on the board here. You always start from the bottom by moving the lower values pegs and you move up. This turn I rolled 3 goods, then I receive 1, 2, 3. Next turn I roll 2 goods. For example, I cannot move these pegs here. I have to move this guy here and this guy here. Following turn I roll 1 good. That's it. You can have up to 6 goods at the end of your turn. This would be 6, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. If I have more at the end of my turn, I have to move my pegs back to the left until I go down to 6. The way to avoid that, of course, is to spend your goods, because that check only applies at the end of your turn. You can move back your peg all the way to the start of the track and collect the money that you have gained from selling those goods. Also, each coin that you rolled is 7 of these points, of these money. So you put together the money from the coins and the money from the goods that you sold, and you can use that money to build developments. You have a list of developments here. You simply check the box corresponding to the development that you have bought, and developments will give you victory points at the end, and also will give you positive effects that you can use during the game. And choosing the right effects is pretty important. Another thing is that if you roll 2 skulls, then 2 skulls or more, then a disaster will happen. And disasters may be that you lose 2 points. With 3 skulls, the other players lose 3 points each. This can be pretty annoying. And then 4 and 5 skulls also will lose you points, or will lose you goods. How do you prevent that from happening? Well, it's pretty simple. You buy developments that allow you to avoid the effects of some disasters. If I buy irrigation, then I can roll 2 skulls and have no negative effect, because my development prevents that from happening. And this is pretty important, because as you can see, you can just collect goods one at a time. But if you really want to get a lot of goods, then you need to roll a lot of skulls, and you need to have, therefore, good developments that prevent the disasters from happening. So if you have the right developments and you roll a lot of these symbols, you get all the goods and you do not have to worry about the skulls. So this is pretty much the way in which you can get a lot of goods in a single turn without being damaged by all of the skulls. And this is pretty much how it works. You keep rolling and collecting goods, feeding your cities, building stuff, and buying developments until one of the players has bought 5 developments, or until all monuments have been built by somebody. I built this, you built that, our friend built that one. All monuments have been built by somebody, then the game is over. Either way, when the game is over, you count the victory points, which are given to you by the total of the developments that you bought, the victory points that come from the monuments, minus the disasters. Again, you get a point that you lose here in the disaster section each time that you cannot feed one of your cities, and each time that points are lost because of disasters rolled. Because of the skulls. At that point, you subtract those points, and at the end, the player with the highest score is the winner. This is a game that I found very enjoyable. Clearly, there is a luck factor because it's a dice game. What do you expect? But if you go past the first couple of turns, I find that the game offers enough options that you do get the sense that you are in control, that there are things that you can do. You receive workers, then you build cities and monuments. You get more goods, then you work on your development. You feel that if you adjust to the lack of the roll, you still can create different sequences of events, and you're in control enough of the action to feel that you're playing the game rather than the system is, using you to play itself. I mentioned the fact that you had to go past the first couple of turns because the first times that you roll the dice, you do not have any dice, you do not have resources that are stored from before. If you are hit by famine, if you cannot feed your cities and you lose points, there isn't really anything that you can do about it, and that of course can hurt you in the long run. But this is a minor thing. Another thing that actually makes this game enjoyable is the fact that it is so short, that you can play in 10-20 minutes, and that means that if, yes, there is a game where the dice really do not allow you to do anything for whatever reason, you do not have to sit there for an hour or 2 hours as the players are having fun. You still get to play another game pretty soon. The game is over pretty quickly. But I feel that this game, at least to me, is more than a filler. It is not just something that I would play between between two bigger games because there are different paths to victory, different strategies. After a game, I feel that I want to try another way of playing the game. I want to see if different ways of handling resources will lead to different results, but then of course I get different die rolls, so I do not necessarily get to test my previous hypothesis, so I want to play it again. It is one of those games that lead to the let's play another game situation. Because of this, I feel that I could play 4 or 5 games of this game in a row rather than just to play the game once as a filler. And overall, to me, it has more options, more nuances, more things that you can do than in the average filler. To me, this is a notch about a filler game. It is a game that is surprisingly rewarding in solitaire mode. I did not expect this. You're just trying to get a better score than the previous time that you played the game, and yet there is still satisfaction in that. Overall, this is a game that I found very enjoyable. I can't really think of anything bad about it, or minor things that are made up for by other good things. So this is a game that I enjoy playing, and I would recommend to anybody who's looking for a dice game or for a civilization game but doesn't feel like getting into anything huge, complicated, or long.